Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
All right.
This is Game Day Live, coming to you live from the Primetime Radio Studios at American Whiskey, 51 Edison Place, across the street from Prudential Center, next to Championship Plaza. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. Turning it to you, Vinnie.
Yes, welcome to Game Day Live, presented by the Let's Go Devils podcast. I am here with Shorts Guy and Beer Bear. Guys, how are we doing today?
Good, Vinny. It's good to be back here. It's here twice in a week for me, which is kind of rare at this point. But hey, when you're not coaching anymore, this is what you can do.
Dude, it's pretty sweet. I haven't been back in a little while, and it's pretty nice. Bar's packed, DJ's bumping, people are happy, everybody's drinking. The beer's flowing like the wine. It's good. It's good. Good times. And streets are packed. A lot of Bruins jersey out there, though. A lot of Bruins jerseys.
But this is wild. The streets are packed in December, late December. The streets are packed outside. Now it's a little bit warmer today than it was the other night. But also with the fact that this is so what? I was here Friday and now I'm here Wednesday, and it's 2 games against the same team. It almost feels like a playoff atmosphere.
What's crazy is because you got this huge break in between Friday and today, and you'd figure that the team has enough time to kind of readjust and learn from their mistakes in the last game and hopefully kind of correct what they were doing before. You're right, it does feel like a playoff atmosphere just because look out in the streets, there's people. It's people everywhere. And it feels good. Good. Vinny, we miss you. We wish you were here, man.
Yeah, I wish I was there too. Listen, the Devils Bruins, we didn't really think that these 2 games, going into the season, I didn't think that these 2 games would be as anticipated as they have been. For the last, month, we were like, oh, when do the Devils play the Bruins? The Devils have faltered a little bit. They've had a couple losses in December here, but there's no doubt that these 2 teams playing each other, it's a lot of speed, it's a lot of skill, it's a lot of, I'm not going to say animosity yet, because the last game, the Devils outplayed the Bruins and they lost by 1 goal. They couldn't find a way to get that game-tying goal in the end. But it is a situation where you have a chance to have a revenge game here just a couple days later. It's the first game since for the Devils, but the Bruins played last night against Ottawa and lost in a shootout. So it's going to be so interesting to me to see how all these different factors play into tonight's game, which is on national TV, by the way. This is a chance for the whole country to check out Wack Hughes' show that's going on tonight. So hopefully they're able to play well again and actually find a way to get that win that we're so desperately needing, because the Eastern Conference, it continues to clog up near the standings at the bottom and at the top. So this is a big one for sure.
Yeah, you know what? It's a big one because the Devils can't let any ground slip away from them. That 6-game core that they were on really did some damage, because at one point they were, 10 points up, from the second team right below them, and it seems like all those little leads that they had are completely slipping away. So now what they have to do is they have to right the ship. They have to get a W tonight. They have to do it in convincing fashion, and they have to do it against the best team in the league, and that's not an easy task. But you have somebody coming into the lineup in Tage Thompson, and this is something that we wanted to talk about, or you and I were talking about off air, is that, last time he went out and he was in the lineup, he ended up getting hurt, and it felt like that was his opportunity then to become a part of the, that bottom 4 line. I hate saying bottom 4, the 4th line. But that was his opportunity to be the 4th liner, especially when Miles Wood was out. Hopefully he takes the opportunity tonight to really step up his game and prove that he belongs in the lineup.
Yeah, and I think with this team in particular, you can say 1st line, 2nd line, 3rd line, 4th line. A lot of the we're just rolling lines for a lot of this, or at least we were before some injuries. So being a 4th line on this team is kind of like you're going to get your opportunity. Yeah. Unless you play your way out of that opportunity, which we've seen some players do that.
Oh, 100%.
But just if you're on the 4th line, I that's not a death sentence for this team at least.
No, and especially when they were winning 13 games in a row, they were rolling 4 lines. Yeah. And they were rolling 4 lines consistently. It was, you're going to have Nico, you're going to have Jack, you're going to have Jesper, you're going to have the guys that are going to be your top tier guys. But when you can roll 4 lines and you can have that confidence that you're not going to have a lull when your 4th line goes out there, that makes a huge difference. So hopefully they can start to get back into that.
And we were getting fourth line scoring.
Yes, yeah.
You know, we were getting pretty even scoring throughout the whole lineup, which is
100%.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. The Heischer and Hughes lines, those are always going to be your top two lines, right? But before this little lull that they've been on and Bastian got hurt, that line was more productive than the third line, and it really wasn't even close. And there were a couple games there on that winning streak that they absolutely do not win without the contributions there from the fourth line. So when people say fourth line, for some reason, the play of fourth lines around the NHL has changed entirely. They're not goon lines anymore. They're like your slightly lesser skilled depth lines now. But for some reason, when people think of fourth lines, they still think of like the tough guys or whatever. That's just not how it is in the NHL. Basically, a good fourth line in today's NHL doesn't allow too many goals, and they find ways to chip in offensively as often as they can. So a line with McLeod, Bastian, and Wood being as successful as it has, but isn't really all that surprising. You take Bastian out of the equation and you put in someone like Thompson who has lots of skill. There's no reason to think that this fourth line can't make an impact. So I'm actually really excited to see what he brings to that group today.
Yeah, it's kind of gone from a goon line to a modified goon line in a sense, because it's become like a checking line.
Yeah.
Just a pure checking line, since there is no goon, although I would love to see a goon line come back.
Oh, man. You know, it would be nice. This team especially, some days it feels like they need to have that extra presence out there.
Yep.
If you had a Cam Jansen, if you went over and you try to run...
Friend of the podcast, Cam Jansen.
That's right. If you tried to run Jack or you tried to run Nico, at least you had Cam to go over in the corners and, you know, make you answer for your for what you're doing. But
yeah.
I mean, at the same time, unfortunately, the NHL has gotten so far away from that you can't have that liability on the ice that's just going to be out there just punching people in the face. But I will say they have some toughness on the blue line. You know, and I'm going to butcher his name, as I always do, but Ahoyuk. Vinnie, am I saying it wrong? I'm saying it wrong.
I've always pronounced it Ahotuk. But I'm not even close to being right.
I wish you would walk over here and punch me in the face and be like, it's a Hotuk. Just get it right.
Scotty will punch you in the face.
That's
well,
true.
he might punch you in the face based on his resume.
He'll send you a punch all the way from L.A.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, phantom punch. But, you know, having him out there hopefully will kind of rectify that, because he is somebody that will get up and fight for somebody.
Yes.
And not just fight for – he will go out there and punish somebody. So that's not a huge worry as much as it was before he got up here. But at the same time, defensively, the last game that him and Ball played in, they were a little bit not up to what we were used to in the last couple games. So hopefully they can, you know, they got one game under their belt. They're going to feel a little bit more comfortable out there. I know they split them up. So now Ball, God, I think he's with Severson. I'd have to double check.
It could be a poison pill.
Could be. But either way, they split them up. So hopefully it gives them somebody that they're going to pair with that's going to give them a little bit more confidence out there. And it's not going to be like, all right, you know, you got those two guys out there and they can only log like 12 minutes.
Yeah, I got your line right here. Ball is with Severson, and then Smith is playing with Ahotu. Obviously, Siegenthaler and Hamilton are the top pair, so you nailed it.
There we go.
Hey, all right.
Look at that. You do pay attention.
I do pay attention a little bit.
Not just colors and shapes.
Well, I mean, I see the color of the uniform, and I'm like, oh, that guy goes to this. But looking at this game tonight, standings aside, what do you hope to see from the team tonight, especially in the first period? Because I feel like that first period is going to be the most crucial period of the whole game. That sounds stupid, but you want to see them come out and not fold up against this team. You want to see them push and really make an effort. But what do you expect to see from this team coming out tonight?
Vinny, why don't you start? What do you expect?
Yeah, for me, the Bruins are big and they're heavy, but they have a lot of skill. And someone like David Pastrnak is probably, besides McDavid, as good as anybody at creating time and space for himself. And he plays on a line with Pavel Zacha and David Krejci. And we all know about Zacha. He collects a lot of, you know, assists because he passes it to Krejci, who passes it to Pastrnak, and lots of guys would collect assists doing that. But Krejci, he has this undeniable ability to find guys in dangerous area, and Pasta can take his dangerous areas and make them even more dangerous. That goal he scored against the Devils the other night on Friday, he like toe dragged it around Siegenthaler, who's a really freaking good defenseman, and just some of the skills, little things like that. You're going up against a team that has McAvoy, who's one of the best young defensemen in the NHL. You have to be hard on the forecheck to beat these guys. We've seen them, feed into things that the Bruins try to do to take you off your game. That's something that can't be something you do in this game. You can't take penalties. You put that power play out there. And, if Taylor Hall and Hampus Lindholm are like your depth pieces, you know that you're a really good team. And, Halsey playing with DeBrusque, who scored in 3 straight games. These guys are very good. So if you don't go out there and are hard on the forecheck, and you need to put some of these shots in the net. I know it's cliche, like, oh, wow, the team that scores more goals will win. Wow, you're a hockey genius, Vinnie. But, it's kind of true. They had 40-something shots and only scored 3 goals. You got to score. And Jack Hughes, they're magnificent on the power play sometimes, but then they go dry sometimes. So if they're able to play at the top of their game like we've seen at times this season, I think they can beat the Bruins, but it comes with basically putting in that whole team effort from the time the puck drops to the time the final whistle blows in the third period. We'll see if they're able to do it. This Bruins team, they have the record that they have for a reason.
Yeah.
So for tonight, the Devils got to have a complete game. Kind of like what Vinnie was saying, from start to finish, you got to have a complete game.
Yeah.
They it went to hell quickly last game, and then they started to claw their way back. Which we've seen a little bit too much of that recently. Like, they're kind of letting games kind of get away from them early and then trying to claw back into it. They really have to, from the word go, get out there and do what they need to do to get that win. I agree with you, Vinny. It can't give Boston a power play, because that's just going to that's just going to be a disaster.
But
and I think we got to tighten up a little bit on D, and then start to put some of these. It almost like we're looking like we looked against the Flyers in the beginning, where we were pounding shots on the goal, and there was nothing.
Yeah.
And we were getting nothing for it.
It's funny you talk about that game, because I was talking to my brother about that game the other night, or last night rather, and we were talking about like that 6-game cooler that they went on.
Yep.
And it was like, you know what? That one game against the Flyers felt like that was the game that was going to break them out of it, but they didn't, because Carter Hart stood on his head.
Carter Hart was great that game.
But if you also look at that game, it felt like they were doing a lot of perimeter shooting. There's a lot, and you could make a goaltender.
Which they did in the beginning.
You could disagree with me, but you can make a goaltender look like the best goaltender in the world if you're taking open shots where he can see it.
Oh yeah.
And if you could put up 50 shots on him, but if he's going to see every single one of them,
and if they're from the outside, forget it. You should be making those saves from the outside.
Yes, you should, and you should also, as an offensive team, you should be taking that shot, following that shot up, and trying to get into the crease. Like, that's the one thing that I feel like they got away from when they were playing the Rangers. They went up 2-0, and they were playing on their toes. They had the Rangers reeling, and it was one of those games where it felt like the Devils were going to win like 6-0.
Yep.
That the first 2 goals they scored, they were attacking the entire time. Every time the Rangers got the puck in their own zone, there was 1 or 2 Devils that were coming in, and they weren't just like getting into the zone and circling around.
Yeah.
They're getting in and forechecking hard. They scored 2 quick goals, and then it felt like they got away from it, and they laid back because they're like, all right, this game's in the bag. The problem is this team can't just lay back. They don't have the ability to just lay back.
Not yet.
Because they can't strike real quick. If they get on somebody, they have to get on them and stay on them, and they got to keep that up-tempo pace like the entire time. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's exhausting. Like, having guys go out there and be like, hey, you just played a shift where you're forechecking the entire time. We're really being aggressive. And you're coming to the bench and you had like a minute shift out there, you're spent. You're done.
You should be.
But you should be. They need to get back to what they were doing during that 13-game winning streak. And it was being very aggressive. It was being a very heavy forechecking team that was taking opportunities and making the best out of it. Right now, it just feels like during that even the last 10 games, they've gotten away from it. And even during that 13-game winning streak, there's games that they should have lost. To be honest with you, they should have lost. They found ways to win, but they should have lost because they let the game get away from them. They go down 2 goals, but they would be aggressive. They'd get back into it, and they'd find a way. So I'm hoping tonight that's what they do. They get that aggressive brand of hockey, like you said. Both of you nailed it. They have to have a complete game, and they have to be out there playing their style of hockey that they know they can play, fast and aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you saw quotes. Someone asked Nico Hischier today, about the matchup against the Bruins. I don't remember the exact question verbatim, but like, the meaning of a game against a team like the Bruins, and you've played as well as you have this year, and they've played as well as they have this year. And he goes, oh yeah, make no mistake about it. We're extremely motivated and we want this one. And for the captain to be saying that, it does mean a lot to me, because I do think that can, like, if he's feeling that way, are they saying stuff in the locker room? Are they, all sorts of different things to, like, motivate the team? And we've seen Jack Hughes play so well, and he was out firing in the first period of that game against the Bruins last week, but now they lost one to the Bruins. They're going to try and rebound against them. I just think their mentality in this game is going to play a big part in it, because it's just so hard to beat a team like that. And the Devils are on a little bit of a losing streak against the Bruins in general. So they got to be feeling like, hey, we got to go out there and play well in this one. And sometimes playing well isn't the end-all, be-all. You need to win. Find ways to win a hockey game. So bring that mentality that Nico was talking about into this one, and hopefully they're able to kind of get it done.
And sometimes you just need just straight up puck luck.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a bounce to go your way, especially when we're playing like we are. Sometimes it looks like the Devils are fighting against themselves as they're out on the ice.
Yep.
Sometimes you just need that puck luck where you get that bounce that goes in where you weren't expecting it to go, and you're like, okay, and you build off that confidence.
The Bruins had one like that.
Yeah. And that's
the
really
last game, the one that slipped through Mackenzie Blackwood's wickets.
Yes.
I mean, I was like, how did that even go in? So
it's just that's what we need, a couple plays like that.
Yep.
And maybe that's all we need to get back to kind of get back on that horse.
But playing, you know how those opportunities happen. They don't just happen.
No,
you
you're
make
pushing
them
hard.
happen.
You're pushing hard, and that's what they got to do. They do have to push hard.
Yeah.
And it, kind of like you said, Vinny, if Nico believes that this team is pushing for it, I'm gonna, like you, Vinny, I'm gonna believe Nico, especially with the fact that I want to say that this team is exceeding our expectations for what we were expecting this season.
100%.
After that 13-game winning streak, we're like, holy crap, this team is it. So, yeah. Are they pushing? I have no doubt in my mind that if Nico says they're pushing, and they want it, and they're motivated. It's just a matter of getting back. And this is one of those things that a young team is going to have to learn. How do you get out of this?
Yeah, and that's...
Because what if you go down 2-0 in the first 2 games of a playoff series? You got to dig yourself out, and you got to dig her out like that.
Exactly. And you know what? Palat being around the corner, he's already practicing with the team.
That's a good thing to see.
That's a huge piece that could come back. I mean, yes, it sucks. Marino being out possibly week to week. Graves being out week to week.
Yep.
That's a huge hit.
Injuries happen, though. Injuries happen.
And that's the thing about, like, good teams find a way to work past an injury. A great team will find a way to get past a key injury.
Yes.
Because if you have a key injury to a player like Marino, has been lights out for this team. And I mean, exceeded a lot of expectations.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
And crazy enough, the guy that we traded for is going to be making his debut tonight. I don't know if it's season debut, but he's playing tonight. Ty Smith will be in the lineup for the Bruins tonight, which is, oh, look at that.
Hey, there you go.
Ty Smith will be playing tonight. And speaking of people that need to make an impact and find a way to make a roster, spot available for him for a long time or for, the future, he's got to be motivated.
Yeah.
Because he's got to be looking at this team like, hey, you gave up on me? All right, so expect to see somebody out there like,
yes.
If you're like, oh, who the hell's that? And you're going to be, oh, damn it, it's Ty Smith. So they need to be able to find a way to get past the injuries they have. The guys that are stepping up have to be like, this is my opportunity, and take the opportunity and do something with it.
Yeah, and kind of going back to what you started with, Vinny, with how clogged up the Eastern Conference is and with our division.
The Metro.
and even though it's only late December now, with how clogged up it is, a couple losses in late December, early January could...
Let me tell you what, there's between the Islanders sit at 6th place. The Devils are only 3 points ahead of the Islanders. You're 3 points away from being between 2nd and 6th.
Which is wild.
The bottom two are the bottom two, and they're gone. They're like 29 points and 20 points, respectively. But
29 is a good number.
Yeah, it is a good number.
Except when it's the only points you got.
Yeah, there's no doubt. They got to get some wins strung together, and December's been a hard schedule. They've essentially played top teams the whole time, and November was a mix of both. The 13-game winning streak had its fair share of, I'm not going to say easy wins. There's nothing easy in hockey, let alone the NHL. But Arizona, Columbus, Philly, stuff like that. Now you're playing Boston, Florida, Carolina a little bit, and you've seen the Devils play well in a lot of these games, but sometimes the results aren't always there. You should have, if you want to be one of the top teams in the NHL, you should have a 700 winning percentage against teams that you are higher than in the standings, and you should be close to 500 against the teams that you're equal to or lower than in the standings, and that's a recipe for like being a top team in the NHL that has a chance to win the Stanley Cup every year. The Bruins are a little bit of a different story so far. They've exceeded all expectations and honestly realism. They'll go through their funk at some point this season too. The Devils are hoping that it starts tonight. Well, it started yesterday with the shootout loss to Ottawa, but you got to go in believing you can win every game, and the Devils do believe that. They've shown they believe in that, and so we'll see what they're able to bring into it tonight.
Yeah, and that's, the Bruins are a good team, and they know how to win. And the Devils have to learn that way. And the Devils are still.
He's like,
I got
a Bruin fan right there.
Bruin fan right in front of me as I say that. So it's a backhanded compliment as best I can make it. But the Devils have to learn. That's what this young team has to learn to progress. They have to learn how to find those ways to win, and then we can be the perennial winner like we all grew up with in the late '90s.
And you're seeing the maturity of the team, right?
That's what we have.
Even in players themselves, look at Jack Hughes' numbers, look at Nico Hischier's numbers, look at look at what they've been doing over the last 3 years.
Yep.
And especially Jack too. Like Jack is, last year he played 46 games or something like that.
Not enough.
So he played 46 games. He ended up over a point a game. Career-wise, he's at 200 games. I think he's at 156, something like that. The numbers are around there. But he's approaching that point-a-game player. He's approaching what he should be as a superstar. Every time you look at the score sheet, even they're winning, they're losing, Jack Hughes has a goal or he has an assist. He's doing what he has to do.
I get the notifications from my fantasy team. Jack Hughes. I love it.
Yeah. Same, although I'm still second to last place because my team sucks. But anyways, I'm terrible at fantasy hockey. Go ahead, Vinnie. What are you saying?
That's funny. Jack Hughes has 5 points in his last 5 games and 18 points in his last 14. So there's a lot of points coming around for Jack Hughes. But, guys, I think it's time that we go to our predictions portion of today's show. And Sam Wu wanted me
there? Holy cow.
He wanted me to point out that he is predicting 2-1 Devils victory for the New Jersey Devils. So everybody should keep that in mind when they're making their predictions. For me, I got the Devils winning this game by a final score of 4-3. I think they're going to completely turn the tide of the last game that they played. We'll see someone from the Boston Bruins, Big Four, chip in something. They're not going to go pointless. You can only hope to contain guys like that rather than stop them completely. But, 4-3, that's my prediction.
Oh, God, I suck at this.
Yeah, so do I.
Can I tell you honestly, can you skip me?
No, we'll skip you. We'll skip you.
Every time I make a prediction, it goes in the opposite direction.
We'll skip you.
It's going to be a 4-1 Bruins.
Get out of here, Bruin fan.
You understand I'm trying to reverse the curse.
So I hate to say this, Vinny, but before we got to your prediction, I had visioned the same thing in my head, 4-3, 4-3 Devils victory, and I think I tried to call that for last Friday as well.
Yep.
And I want to go with that again, a 4-3 Devils victory. I think that with what the Devils showed once they kind of got their feet under them on Friday, I think they can do it. It's just a matter of can they do it for the full game? And I think 4-3. And I'm curious who's going to be playing goal tonight. I'm curious if it's Matt Black or
You're in my head tonight, man. This is like the third time I was about to say something, and you said it right before I was about to say it. Vinny, do you have who's starting goal tonight?
Your starting goalie tonight looks to be Blackwood.
Okay.
Or Vanacek.
Oh, Vanacek. Okay.
Vanacek. Oh, that's interesting.
See, we do have two very competent goaltenders.
Yes.
And I think that they're both great, and I just think that...
But who do you trust more?
Only because he's been here more consistently without injury, Vanacek. I love how Mac Black played, and Mac Black is showing some real flashes of the Mac Black we saw that we all had high hopes for. It's just a matter of getting those consistent reps. But Vanacek has had those consistent reps over the long run here, and I think Vanacek can do it. Plus, Vanacek would I guess you can say Vanacek has a little bit more with the experience with playing in recent years because Matt Black has been out for so long injury-wise.
Hey, can I ask a question? Do you think the Devils win that game if Vanacek started last game?
I don't know.
Think about 2 of the goals that Black would let up.
Yeah, but kind of like Vinnie said, the one was kind of like one of those fluke goals that sometimes, no matter what you do.
I don't know.
I don't know.
All right,
But
I know it's time to go,
So-
but
There were some saves Blackwood made where I'm like, okay, I don't know if Vanacek makes those. Like, it's all time and place and
I know, but
stuff like that. So.
But it's not like during that 6-game slide that any of our goaltenders were playing good enough to win us a game.
no, it's true.
And
We needed somebody to steal a game. Nobody could.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
All right,
goalies
guys.
can't
Well,
score goals. I can tell you that from last night.
It's true. Another Bruins fan. They're everywhere. They're
I know.
everywhere.
all right, let's wrap it up, guys. Thank you all those watching, listening on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Twitter Live. Remember to tip your bartenders at American Whiskey. State of the Fan address at 8:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. And Devils After Dark, after the game at American Whiskey. Enjoy the game, everybody. Devils, Bruins. Till next time, let's go Devils.